Okay, so we're on the air. We're gonna do a Legends of Wrestling parody. It's one of it turns out it's a lot of people's favorite show. Uh,
Yeah,
I
that
wish
was
they,
my
I,
childhood show.
I wish they would bring it back. So on the
I do too.
so actually it's gonna be non Legends of Wrestling. All right, all right. And first we'll have the youngster hailing from Tampa Bay, James Moody.
Fuck
James,
that.
what's up? Represent,
Fuck
right?
that.
Represent. Uh,
But I don't have a Braves jersey on. I have a Braves jersey
all right.
on. But
Yeah, I don't know why, but you sound like you're underwater. But we'll tolerate you as much as possible. Whenever you talk, whenever you're not speaking, I will. What you call it? I'll mute you. And if you want to say something, just wave in front of the camera. If you
I'm
die,
about to
say
turn the camera off.
yes. All right, whatever you want to do. So, James, tell our negative audience why did you like Legends of Wrestling?
When I was a kid, my dad we had Comcast, right? So they had this thing called WWE 24/7.
Yeah,
On demand.
yeah.
And we got it when I was like 5, and I was already a diehard wrestling fan. Could tell you a lot of stuff.
Right.
My dad raised me well with that. So as a kid growing up, that was my favorite thing they had to offer. Like,
okay,
I love that show.
What did you like? What did you like best about the show? Like, did you learn stuff from it, from hearing all the legends talk and give like the industry secrets?
I've always liked a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Right. You like to hear the background stories that probably you never heard of and never will.
I like hearing stories in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing for me.
Right. Okay.
If someone's tell me a story, I'm glued to the TV or whoever's telling it.
Right. It felt like you were sitting there with them hearing stories. James, you like that show, right?
Yes, when I had the network, that was definitely one of my favorite shows, and the reason for it was, similar to Jameis, there was a lot of backstage, stories, but what I liked was especially there were 2 episodes in particular that I really enjoyed. The one where they had Eric Bischoff as a guest, where they talked about the Monday Night Wars.
Oh yeah, they those fucking WWE guys, they would like not let it go. Like,
I understand that, but I liked having Eric Bischoff there, so that way he could present the other side.
Right. But it was like he was like in enemy territory, and I remember that fucking Michael Hayes. He was like really grilling him. He was like, "Well, I heard you did this. Is that true?"
I love
Michael Hayes, I have no love lost for him.
Yeah.
My other favorite episode was where they talked about, and this was less political, was the badasses of the business, where they talked about guys like Danny Hodge, like Kurt Angle, Taker.
That was different. Right. So yeah, it was different. It was different.
Oh, Danny Hodge was a bad motherfucker. He didn't mess with him.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, if everybody says so, it must be true because why would they would never put over somebody like that, especially.
Mark Barr was a bad dude.
All right, so so basically, yeah, that's the gist. They give different topics. So this is a parody because we can't copy WWE. WWE will strike you with a copyright if you use 3 seconds of their material. So this is a parody. So this we're gonna do the reboot of Overachievers and Underachievers. All right. So
We're
first,
just doing current wrestlers, right?
What's that?
We're just doing current guys.
No, we're picking. I told you we're gonna pick anybody from any era.
Oh, I have my underachiever. I'll pick that.
Oh, okay. So who's all right? So again, who's your overachiever, James?
My overachiever?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dolph Ziggler.
Okay, you said Dolph Ziggler. All right. So why do you think Dolph Ziggler is an overachiever?
Dolph Ziggler is a guy who his best work was when he just came in after all the script. Just came in with a new character.
Get closer to the mic.
Just came in with a new character as Dolph Ziggler. He won the U.S. title right away, the IC title right away, and he was just a fantastic heel. Then somewhere within that mix, he just became the most boring dude to me. I went from loving him to being indifferent on him overnight.
But you said he's an overachiever, so that means he wasn't supposed to get as big as he did, but he did.
And here's why I say that, because he wasn't even over until he cashed in Money in the Bank, and boom, he has the top title in the company.
Right. All right.
He was never the best wrestler in the company.
Yes,
he can't talk. I don't know how he got that belt.
Yeah. I think he
got it twice.
I think he did real good, despite the fact that he had bad promo skills. All right. So now, James, what do you think about that?
I actually will get to that later because he's the opposite for me. I think he underachieved.
Okay, so you think he's an underachiever. Why do you think he's an underachiever?
Well, the reason I think Dolph Ziggler is an underachiever is because the guy was a pretty damn good worker. He got himself over several times, and the company just didn't reciprocate. You know, I referenced the 2014 Survivor Series, even though, yes, we've discussed in the past he wasn't the original person to win that Survivor Series because someone else got injured.
Well, yeah, he filled it for Roman Reigns.
Yeah, but the fact remains, he won that Survivor Series and people went nuts for it. It wasn't just because Sting, it wasn't just because of Sting. He eliminated those other guys single-handedly.
Right.
He built them very strong. And what did they end up doing with him? They ended up doing nothing with him. And I felt, in my mind, that Dolph Ziggler belonged doing a little bit more than that. And, he's, to me, Dolph Ziggler, and this is a subject we can get into at another time, to me, Dolph Ziggler is proof positive that wins and losses matter because no one could take him seriously because he's lost so many times.
Okay. Definitely after that Survivor Series, he peaked. Yeah, it was very believable. And, of course, there's the story that came out that Vince McMahon told the creative, we are not pushing Dolph Ziggler because they thought maybe that they were going to give Dolph a run. All right. So
a lot of people backstage were pushing for that.
All right, James, go ahead.
Dolph Ziggler, I never said he was a bad worker. He's a great worker, but he was never the best in the company. And the issue with Ziggler is when he got himself over in 2012, it was right after Mania. No, 2013, it was right after Mania 29. He won the title, and then boom. Every time he gets over, he always gets hurt.
All right, but how do you feel?
But in 2013, Jameis, that was through no fault of his own. He got kicked in the face by Jack Swagger. And in 2014, going into 2015, he wasn't hurt at all, man.
Right. He fell victim to everybody who gets that push that they're not supposed to get winds up getting a concussion.
I know it wasn't his fault. But it still happened.
I didn't know if you were aware of that.
Go ahead, James.
No, like I was saying, I didn't.
James, go ahead.
I still don't think he was over in 2014. Here's why. He got the giant pop in front of a smart crowd. But when you went into a city like Des Moines or Corpus Christi, who is a terrible crowd, one of the worst. I'm ashamed that I'm referencing it.
Right, he wasn't able to sustain it, and I think
they were on their butts.
Right, I think he wasn't able to sustain it because every time they gave him a chance with the open mic in the ring, he just, I don't know. I remember hearing him and cringing, going, "Oh man!" And this guy is supposed to be a stand-up comedian.
And that's why I think he's an overachiever. He got the belt and couldn't talk.
Okay. James, now I mentioned before the story about Vince saying we're not pushing him. What about that other story, that rumor that said they didn't push him because he's a big partier and he
then I call BS on that because there were a ton of guys in that locker room that were partiers with a lot of girls. I can name Flair because that would be obvious, but Undertaker was the same way.
We're talking about Dolph Ziggler.
But I understand it. But if their reasoning for not pushing was because he was a partier, then that's BS because you can't have different rules for different.
Right. Well, maybe he was doing things behind the scenes that were not giving them confidence that he could be trusted. I don't know. I'm just stating. It's not my opinion. I'm just stating the fact. So I think he started off with the Spirit Squad, which was a ridiculous gimmick, male cheerleaders, and he got over that. He's the only guy who survived. The other guy maybe would have been Kenny Dykstra. So, James, what do you think about
Kenny
that?
Dykstra bored me.
Yeah, I don't know, but
That.
Kenny Dykstra was like becoming the leader of that group. He was, and then again,
He had the right look.
I don't know.
He didn't have the right ability.
At the time, he stood out from that whole crew. He had that flying leg drop. I think it was off the top rope. Watching him, he got me a little excited, and I used to think he could be the breakout star. I never really paid attention to Dolph, so I don't know. I think with Dolph, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say he's an overachiever because he broke out of that terrible gimmick with the Spirit Squad. He's won multiple championships. Isn't
he like a Grand Slam if you count the world title on the place of WWE?
Yeah, he's won the world title. He's won the U.S. title. He's won tag team championships. He's won a lot. Listen, and I know maybe James I don't know how James is going to react to this, but I think Dolph Ziggler is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Go ahead, James.
He'll be a Hall of Famer like Coco Beware. Not a single person could take him seriously, and that is ultimately the measure of a man to me in that industry. Can you take him seriously? And I'm sorry, when you lose and lose and lose and lose, Ziggler for the most part, yes, he got those belts, but for the most part, he was booked like a job guy. And I'm sorry.
No, come on. He was booked as a mechanic, as a credible. They built him up to be credible, only to be fed to somebody to get.
But that's my point. So to me, he underachieved because his talent superseded his push. There were many opportunities where they could have done stuff with him, and they chose not to.
Okay, well, listen, they definitely like his ring work. What he's known in the industry as a mechanic. I think his limitations on the mic killed it with the fans, and who knows backstage what happened. I'll say he's an overachiever because he is going to the Hall of Fame. James?
I'm going to argue James' point, and I'm going to do this. Sure, his IC titles with Miz were unnecessary, but when he came up and won the U.S. title, he was the most credible champion on it.
All right, but I'm saying, looking back on it, from where he started to now, is he
his first IC title run? He was credible. His first world title run, barring injury, he didn't look bad.
Okay, so yeah, because they didn't have plans for him, and when they don't have plans to put the rocket on your back, they scale you back. So
I did want him to beat AJ at SummerSlam.
Well, he did.
Oh no, not AJ, Ambrose.
Okay, well, let's forget it. We're talking about looking back. So you're going to say he's an underachiever, overachiever?
Over.
He's an overachiever. And James, you say he's.
I'm sticking to my guns. He's an underachiever. I think he could have been. At least a little bit more.
All right, and maybe he shouldn't have tried so hard to be Shawn Michaels. That could have got him heat in the back. All right, so we'll move back. We'll move forward. And James, this is your this guy's become your martyr, Bray Wyatt. He started off. He debuted. He's a third generation wrestler. Mike Rotundo's son, IRS.
Blackjack Mulligan's grandson.
Yeah, he's got the lineage. He started off. He debuted as Husky Harris with the Nexus. Then they repackaged him as Bray Wyatt. And James is notorious. He has a rooting interest in Bray Wyatt. He thinks Bray Wyatt gets screwed every hour of the day. James, again,
I think in terms of his win-loss record, he's royally been screwed. I'm not, and yes, I'm going to name names. I'm not someone like Nick Durst who thinks that because they put the belt on him for 30 days, maybe a little less, that undoes all the damage they did to the man. I look at a guy like Bray Wyatt that, yes, his promos are repetitive, but then again, so were The Undertaker's. But the reason The Undertaker's promos, even though they were repetitive back in the day, worked so well was because he had this wonderful thing. It's a C word. It's called credibility.
Right. Okay. You think, okay. James thinks The Undertaker got the credibility because of the booking.
That's exactly what it was, and no one's a bigger Undertaker fan than I am.
Okay.
You book, and this is where I will leave it. Book The Undertaker with all his talent, the same way Bray Wyatt's been booked, The Undertaker would not be near the legend that he is.
Of course, it would have lost the mystique. All right, so Jameis, what do you think about?
I don't know. He was not booked that well in the first.
What do you think about the Eater of Worlds, Jameis?
I think he's an underachiever.
Yeah, so you think he could do more? Well, let's first of all, he just turned 30, so he still has a few years to go. So
It's true.
So, you think he's an underachiever? James thinks he's an underachiever. So far, I think he's an overachiever, coming from being a third-generation wrestler, and then that Husky Harris character was atrocious. He looked like a goof. I don't know if it was the Nexus or he just got lost in the shuffle. I really think that WWE has given him an opportunity, more than a great opportunity, by repackaging him. He's always he gets a lot of TV time. I think
you can have all the TV time in the world, Frank, but if you're presented as a loser 90% of the time, what good is it?
Right. I think, and I used to tell James this in the beginning, in 2013, and then like mid 2014, I started getting frustrated, and I think a lot of fans also, that we needed more wrestling and less talking. It was always promo, and then one match, and then he'd lose. James?
Yeah.
I'm saying, go ahead.
Well, that's another thing that Durst always holds against him, that he doesn't wrestle. He doesn't decide when he wrestles. The powers that be do. That's number one. Number two, when he's given the ball and he's given a good opponent, most of the time he delivers. Randy Orton notwithstanding, they have no chemistry.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. No,
I look back at his match with Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. It was a match of the year candidate. Then I go the very next month, the Wyatts versus the Shield, another match of the year candidate. I mean, come on.
Oh, I think those 6-man tag team matches were very good. All right, and Jameis, what do you think?
I don't think his character needs to wrestle. Much like the Undertaker in the beginning, the more you show his tricks, the less and less of a spectacle it was. When Undertaker came in, he didn't become a full-time wrestler where he was wrestling every night on TV, every week until 94, 95. There was always a lot of guys who shuffled in with Raw.
I remember him when he debuted. He would be on TV and he'd be scary and he'd kill the jobbers and you couldn't hurt him. He would no sell.
He didn't wrestle credible opponents for us.
Yeah, but anyway, Bray Wyatt. So, Jameis, what do you think? You said he's an underachiever.
Yes.
So far, okay. And James, you say he's an underachiever.
He's absolutely an underachiever because you're looking at it. To me, I understand that you don't really care much for the guy, and that's fine.
No, well, listen, my thing is I look at the performer. I'm not looking at his current character. I'm looking at the performer of Wyndham Rotunda, from where he started to becoming Husky Harris to becoming Bray Wyatt. He doesn't have.
There's no doubt the transformation was necessary, and the transformation was great. However, as Bray Wyatt, the last credible victory he had.
I know. I'm saying I think we should stop just talking about every victory and loss. As for his overall package, his presentation, how he comes off.
I think he's an underachiever because he could be doing so much more. To me, that guy should be one of the top anti-heroes in the company.
Right.
But instead, if they put him in the main event, no one will buy it. No one will pay it because no one will believe it.
Okay, so like I said, up until now, he's still 30 years old. Most wrestlers don't even start. They get a big push until they're 30. I think so.
You can't build a house on bad foundation, Frank.
Okay, all right. I think right now, Wyndham Rotunda, the performer, I think he's overachieving from where he started to now. He's been a main character, but I don't know what the problem is with his wrestling. Does he get hurt? Maybe you again. When I talk about intangibles, James, we don't know behind the scenes. Some people can't hold up to the schedule of WWE of wrestling night in and night out, night in and night out. And I don't know. Maybe that might have something to do with it. So we get James says underachiever for Bray Wyatt. James says overachiever for Bray Wyatt. Underachiever. I say Oh no, James says underachiever. I give him the only overachiever vote. So next, this is an interesting guy, CM Punk. He was definitely the indie darling. He came with much fanfare. He was like the original. He was like the first guy from the indies to start breaking out in the post WCW ECW era. He started off a little slow. We all know he was the gangster riding next to John Cena in WrestleMania 22. Is it, James?
Yep.
And then he had a couple good gimmicks with his Straight Edge Society. I liked that. That was a very good heel gimmick. And then we know it was the summer of Punk. He took over the pipe bomb. He had the longest reign in modern history. What was it, 455 days?
434.
Okay, 434. Okay, and then we know after that, we know from the shoot interview and all the information, he quit abruptly, hasn't returned,
and more than likely never will again.
Okay, James, go ahead. You give us your take on why.
Well, I think he definitely overachieved. There's no doubt in my mind he overachieved for and not because of his lack of talent. And I'm not going to downplay him because I hate him as a person. He overachieved because that company was so against him. And guys like Paul Heyman confirmed that several times.
Yeah, they wanted to fire him.
They wanted him out of there. And I could also say he overachieved was because...
Wait, 1 second. Do you think they wanted to fire him based on his ability or based on his attitude?
They wanted to fire him because they didn't make him. They just wanted to get rid of him because he wasn't their creation.
Right.
That's what I believe. Because they've had several guys in that locker room that had lousy attitudes, and they weren't looking to fire them. Why him? You're going to tell me he was a bigger prick than Shawn Michaels when he was on builds? I doubt that.
They were at different. They had different statuses. Okay, so Jameis, what do you think about CM Punk?
I might take a while. I think he achieved perfectly.
No, just you wait.
Exactly
No.
what he was doing.
So the way he left off. Do you think he could have done more?
No, and I'll explain why. When he came in, 2006, 2007, he had match of the year, in my opinion. John Morrison on free TV for the ECW title. His last shot. John Morrison had failed a drug test, and that's the only reason they gave him the belt. And that match is what made me, whoa, look out for this guy. And then after that, he just kind of bored me a bit until 2009.
Yeah, you
he had this feud with Jeff Hardy and Big Star just straight edge. And then he brought in the Straight Edge Society in 2010.
Yes, I said that. Okay, so all right, so yeah, and James tested. You heard James. What he just said when he saw that match on ECW, and he said, "Look out!"
Yes, with John Morrison. That's when he said, because Frank has said several times when we did our shows together that there were several guys that when he saw them, he would say, "Hey, this guy's going to be something." I think Punk was one of those guys.
Yeah, when I saw Punk, even just the first time when he ever appeared, when he introduced himself before the commercial break, I remember it like it was yesterday. He introduced himself and he said, "I'm CM Punk." And
my addiction is wrestling.
Right. And I was like, whoa, this guy's different. He has a different vibe. He has a different energy. But yeah, then he kind of, he faded back because, again, if WWE has no plans for you, they're not going to push you. But
I know Paul Heyman had plans for him. He wanted him to be ECW champion, and Vince wanted Bobby Lashley.
Right. Okay, well, that can't go wrong. All right, so I think Punk overachieved.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with an incomplete. I don't know because he left abruptly. He got banged up. Who knows? I think his biggest problems were behind the scenes. As more information comes out.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm saying as more information comes out, you don't know who to believe, him or the WWE. He sounds like a disgruntled wrestler. Some things he says could be true. I don't know. As years pass by, maybe some other people will confirm it. I say he's an overachiever and maybe incomplete. And Jameis, what do you say? What he's
I haven't finished yet, and I'll tell you what. I thought he overachieved once the Straight Society happened. He had already won multiple world championships. He had won that. He was a triple crown without the WWE title.
Right. Yeah, yeah. He was getting he was getting
And
titles.
then,
He was
so I was like, I love the character. I love the work he's doing, but I don't think it. I don't believe it. And then once that pipe bomb hit in 2011, I'm like, watch out for this guy. And I think he underachieved the rest of the way. I think he evens right out.
he underachieved the rest of the way. You said.
Imagine if they hadn't had him lose to The Rock. He could have been the star walking into WrestleMania.
Right.
Imagine if they had given him the title back. The amount of money and they could have invested into him after that pipe bomb, even with the amount of money they had already invested into him, could have been off the charts, and they just threw it all away for Rock Cena 2.
Right, I think he should have been included in that main event. Even like you said, even if he was just in there, just to give the fans a different thing. We saw that also. I say the WrestleMania.
And the match with Jericho was fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah. CM Punk, that match with the Undertaker was great. The match with Brock Lesnar was great. His work is great. I think his Achilles heel was backstage. I don't know. He comes off. I don't know, as a prick. I don't know. So you say
after 29, after he has that big match with the Undertaker, have him break the streak, give him the title, and boom, you have billions of dollars for the next 10 years.
Yeah, all right. Like I said, but he was banged up. Who knows what happened? So Jameis, you say he's an underachiever.
I said he was perfect. He achieved what he was supposed to. Not under, not over.
Okay. And James,
there's no doubt in my mind that he overachieved what he would have because the company was so against him. But what Jameis said makes sense in the aspect of they left a lot of money on the table with him because, yes, Frank, I understand you've heard what many of us already knew, that he was a moody prick. But the one thing I give him a pass on in terms of being a prick.
Yeah, but I'm just saying what I hear and how he is.
Oh, that's fine, but to me that's perfectly fine because he was the only wrestler in that locker room that had the balls to tell these people, listen, this is stupid. This isn't good. Because 99% of them, Frank, are walking around on eggshells and they don't speak up for fear of their jobs. That's not a good environment. They need more guys like Punk who are going to open their mouths, that are going to say, hey, this is dumb. This is stupid. I still maintain, and you're hearing this from a guy that hates the guy because he was a prick to me when I met him, he should have been the face of that company post the pipe bomb because every single person in that audience could identify with him. I wouldn't have had him break the streak. I wouldn't have even had him wrestle Taker. I would have had Taker retire at that point after 20-0. But Punk should have been the number one guy in that company, and they were never going to go there. And that's why he left. He recognized, and you said this, Frank, he saw Daniel Bryan got more over than him, and they weren't looking to push him. Punk realized this guy's more over than me, and he's not getting it. I'm never going to get my main event.
Right. So I think, he quit because not only was he banged up, maybe he wanted more money. I think that's what it's all about. That's why he wanted the top spot, and that's nothing wrong with that. He wanted the top money. He wanted more money, and he freaked out when they switched over to the network because he wasn't sure how he got paid. James, I agree with you about speaking up. Maybe did he speak up too much every day? I don't know. If you listen to Triple H, he says that every day he would come in and the agents would come running to Triple H and tell him he's going to quit. He's going to quit. And then Triple H would ask him what's wrong. And he'd say, oh, nothing. I don't know. That's what he said. Who knows? I say CM Punk is an overachiever. Just at least he got 2.5 years. I mean, people still chant his name. And he hasn't been wrestling in 3 years. So he left his mark. And I'm sure if he ever decides to come back one day,
he'll embrace him with open arms.
He'll get a huge pop. And I think down the road, maybe he'll be in the Hall of Fame if
he certainly deserves it.
Bygones be bygones.
If Bruno can cut ties and cut the history, then Punk can, and he will be in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
I didn't go to that list.
Anything can happen. Okay, so now we'll move. This is my topic. The Big Show, underachiever or overachiever? We all know Big Show debuted in his first match. I think he was like 21. He was billed as Andre the Giant's son. That's a great gimmick. He certainly believed it. He defeated Hulk Hogan in his first match for the WCW title. He went on to he was athletic. He might be the best athletic giant I've ever seen in my life. If you go back and look at 95, 96, 97, wow! Before he put on the weight, and then he managed. He did the best thing. He signed with WWE, and then the weight. He has weight issues, and they got frustrated with him. Even James's buddy, James's boy, The Undertaker, would get on him even on screen and tell him he has to take it serious and whatever. I think it's tough with him because how much can you go with him? He was just so much bigger and he was so athletic even for his size. Even when he did go past 450. Go ahead, James. Go ahead, you start.
I think he overachieved because most guys that size aren't in the high-profile matches that he was in, putting on performances the way he was. Big Show was an incredibly talented giant. To me, in terms of being an athletic giant, he is second only to The Undertaker. He was so good, especially, the matches that he had with Taker in 2008. In the fall of 2008, they had like 3 incredible matches. Actually, 4.
You mean athletically as a giant?
Yes.
We could put
Big Show was very athletic.
You need to go back and watch early on to the Giants.
Maybe I do because I didn't see early on. The only Andre I saw was WrestleMania 1 onward.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about late 70s, early 80s. All right, but okay. So you say he's an underachiever, James?
No, he's an overachiever.
Oh, he's an overachiever.
He overachieved because listen, most big guys like that. Yes, the Vince like to push big guys, but Big Show, to me, he's won every championship. Most giants don't achieve that much. Did Andre the Giant win any titles? Not really. He didn't really win any belts. He was never a champion. Big Show was, and Big Show was good at doing it.
Well, Andre didn't need any belts. What good is it giving him a belt? The guy he's one of those performers who didn't need a belt, like
Roddy Piper. I understand what you're saying.
And then plus, when you put the belt on Andre, again, I always talk to you and I try to explain to you. You have to look down the road 2 steps, 3 steps. Then how do you take it off of him? You don't want him to be defeated. That was the gimmick. I told you, Gorilla Monsoon came up with that for Andre the Giant. He told Vince Senior, don't ever make this guy lose. And that's how that came about. Okay, so Jameis, the Big Show.
Over.
You think he's an overachiever also?
For the same reasons James thinks he's an overachiever. You look at that guy and you do not think this guy is going to be the next WWE champion. And he's going to do it in 99 against The Rock and Triple H. He's going to do it in 2002 against Brock Lesnar. He's going to do it against Kurt Angle. You just didn't look. You didn't think it was going to be in 2006. The face of a brand.
Right. But why not? Why not? This guy's bigger than everybody, and he could move and he could talk. Why not? He had everything.
In my opinion, if you put a belt on him, it looks small. But that's not why.
Well,
a guy that size does not normally get so many pushes, especially after the weight issue. Because when Mark Henry came back from the weight issue, it took him 9 years to prove that he was worthy of being world champion. It took Yokozuna didn't get another title after he put on the weight.
Big men. It's hard for them to stay on the weight because these guys eat brontosaurus burgers every day. Yeah. All right. So you say he's overachiever, and James said he's underachiever. I'll say the Big Show is he's an underachiever because being that big, and don't forget he had the benefit of modern medicine. He got the surgery done to stop his pituitary gland from making him grow. That's what happened with Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant, he had the disease where he kept growing and growing and growing. Paul White got that fixed. Again, he's one of the best athletic big men, giants I've ever seen. He could talk. He had personality. We saw him do comedy. He could do everything. I think he's an underachiever, and it's not his fault because unlike Andre the Giant, who was an attraction, Andre the Giant would stay in one territory, leave, travel the world, then come back a year later to WWF at the time, and people would forget about him, and then he would stay a year, have a feud, and then leave again. Whereas Big Show, he's trapped, and that you have to really weigh into consideration for a lot of performers now in the post WCW, ECW, or post territory days. These guys are stuck in one place, and they get stale, and they don't. And like the old saying goes, "How can we miss you if you don't leave?" So they get stale. You know, in the old days, they would go to another company, another promotion, improve or find a new gimmick, and then come back to WWE or WWF. And sometimes they'd come back hotter than they left, or sometimes they'd come back done. But anyway, Big Show, I think he's an underachiever based on the circumstances. Not so much his talent. The guy's had what, a 22-year career? That's crazy. He's the longest tenured wrestler besides Undertaker. All right, so the last one, and James, will start with you. And I'm gonna say The Miz. What do you think?
I had an underachiever I wanted to bring up, but
okay, we'll do it at the end. What about The Miz? What do you think? Underachiever or overachiever?
Overachiever. Now I'll explain this one too. Someone like The Miz came in. I'm just like, can they just release this guy tomorrow? He was literally a male Eva Marie, and then out of nowhere, he just started improving and getting really good. At one point, he was the best heel in the business. The dude can work a mic and he can work a match. He couldn't do that 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, boom, he's a big star, and rightfully so.
When was this? When he was with Morrison?
My favorite Miz time was when he was with Morrison. Third Sheet's one of my all-time favorite talk shows. But no, when he was with Riley, WWE champion.
When he was with who?
Alex Riley.
Oh, okay. When he first debuted with James Morrison, I actually remembered him from The Real World and The Tough Enough.
He debuted in 2005, feuding with the Boogeyman.
Yeah, but I remember him on MTV. I remember after Raw, I used to watch MTV, Real World, and Tough Enough. I remember him from those shows. And when he debuted, I thought he was a jerk. I thought this guy was a scrub. And then slowly but surely, he got himself over, and he was a clear. It was clear that he outgrew Morrison. So now we'll turn to James. Go ahead, James.
He overachieved. He overachieved, and I am going to say because of his talent. Up until, I'm not going to lie, up until he had that segment with Brian on Talking Smack, I did not give two flying scuttles about The Miz. I couldn't recall a single memorable match that he had one-on-one with anybody. I couldn't recall a single promo he cut that was riveting. And next to John Cena, he's easily the biggest corporate robot in that company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize that.
So, to me, there was really nothing to him. It was only until he cut that vicious promo on Brian on Talking Smack where I'm like, wait a second, this guy actually, he doesn't sound like a robot. That sounds like how he really feels.
Right. But okay, so yeah, I feel the same way too. I always thought The Miz in the early 2010s, even though he would win titles or whatever.
He had no business being WWE champion back
then. Right. I think I think he wasn't ready for that, and that's not his fault. He wasn't ready for that. But I mean, to get there, I was like, wow. Yeah, and again, you want to talk about booking? Not forget the wrestling matches. His Miz TV shows, he was always made to look like a fool. Celebrities would come in and smack him and punch him. He was always like that clown that would get abused, and that killed him. But yeah, he reinvented himself. Jameis, go ahead. Go ahead.
Look at your current WWE champion and ask yourself how he got there.
Yeah, I think he's who knows, maybe his in-ring ability. He always, I don't know. He in the beginning, I don't know. It's like you didn't really notice. He was just very generic. It was always like he would always slip on a banana peel and pin somebody, be in the right place at the right time. He was definitely a good heel. But even in the early days, you could see it. But yeah, he definitely reinvented himself in 2016. Yeah, that promo. But I see that contradicts James. That contradicts James's point about booking. James, you say that booking kills wrestlers.
It most certainly does, and you don't got to look much farther than Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt.
We're talking about the Miz.
Did it kill Daniel Bryan?
Hold on. The Miz.
No, it didn't kill Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan was universally over.
Right. But I'm saying I'm saying let's talk about the Miz. He was booked for basically 5 years as a goof, as a joke. Again, forget the wrestling matches during the Miz TV when he would go film movies and then he'd come back, and his role was, I thought the guy was gonna stop wrestling and just be a mic stand. He would get slapped by celebrities, beat up by every wrestler, and then this guy all of a sudden he did that promo. But why, James? Why would you say he was credible after being?
Did I say credible?
No, I'm saying, but why did you say whoa? Well, what made you all of a sudden notice him after?
What made me notice him was that he cut a promo that didn't sound like he had the friggin' life of a Stepford wife. It sounded like a promo he truly believed what he was saying. That caught my attention.
Right. Okay. I'm just saying, because like if James Ellsworth cut the same promo, you wouldn't like say, "Whoa, wait a minute." You know what I mean?
Because number one, it wouldn't make any sense coming from James Ellsworth because he doesn't have the reputation of being a safe wrestler who wrestles lazy, who does his best to not get hurt so he doesn't lose his TV time. That's how The Miz came off. The Miz came off as a guy who didn't work hard in the ring because he wanted to reinsure that he would never get hurt.
Maybe listen again. Maybe that's not him. Maybe they told him, they instructed him to do that.
No, but that's fine. But that's the perception that the fans had of him. And you want to know something? He took that perception and made something of it. Roman Reigns, take notes.
Yeah. All right. So James, you say he's an overachiever?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Jameis?
Overachiever.
Okay.
Unanimous.
I say, yeah. Now I say, yeah. You got to give it to the Miz. He's an overachiever. Again, not only the first time for being a reality star and making it. People always get on him about being a reality star and a tough enough contestant. Listen, you have to audition for those shows. He got the part. I mean, he didn't get the part because of anything. You have to audition. He made the audition for Real World, and then the spinoff show was Real World Rules, Road Rules. He got on Tough Enough. He got second place, overachieved there. Main event at Wrestle. He outgrew the Morrison, who was remember everybody used to rave about Morrison. He was athletic, and had main event at WrestleMania. People still don't know. And then I guess he played the part. He had good looks. I think. What about Maurice? Do you think this current run, Maurice helped him a lot?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think she compliments him so good. They play the gimmick good. So okay.
I would hope she is his wife.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying just because it's his wife doesn't mean on camera it works. But all right.
You overachieved?
Oh yeah. Who was your honorable mention?
Oh no, my underachiever was Rick Rude.
Rick Rude as underachiever?
In the WWF, he did underachieve.
I'm talking about just the E.
Just the WWF. If he's talking about just the WWF, WWE, he has a point because, he went over to Japan, he went over to WCW, he was a world champion, but in the WWE,
They
He never rose past the Intercontinental level.
Well,
Cage match with Warrior is when they should have given him the belt.
Yeah.
Didn't Warrior drop it like a month later anyway? So
No,
that
he
they
dropped it. He dropped it
back
6
over?
months. He dropped it 6 months later to Sergeant Slaughter.
okay.
But didn't he drop it to a heel just so they could put Hogan back over? So if you're
They
gonna
did
put
because
Hogan
with the
back
Warrior,
over,
the run wasn't working. That's why.
Yeah, they had to pull the plug on the Warrior. But anyway, Rick
if
Rude.
Warrior's not working, give it to a heel who's been there, busting his tail. Slaughter left for like 2 or 3 years and hadn't been seen in the E.
Well, the
until
reason
all of a
they
sudden he
put it
came
on
in.
him, Jameis, the reason they put it on Slaughter was because he was working a gimmick that was drawing nuclear heat.
Yeah, that was at the time the United States went to war with Iraq in 1991. That was the first time.
Absolutely. And listen, people hated Rick Rude, but they would have cheered Rick Rude over Sergeant Slaughter because
Yes.
Sergeant Slaughter was pretending to be friggin' friends with Saddam Hussein when we were at war.
Yeah.
No offense to Rude. I loved ravishing Rick to death. He was great. Sergeant Slaughter as a villain was the most hated man on planet Earth.
Yeah.
He had to wear a bulletproof vest to the ring.
Yeah, and speaking of Legends of Wrestling, they talked about that he talked about it at Legends of Wrestling where
They wouldn't serve him in restaurants.
Vince McMahon called him and told him that there's bomb threats. That they were making bomb threats.
WrestleMania 7 or whatever. It was.
Yeah, they were making bomb threats to WWE headquarters and
To Sergeant Slaughter's house?
Yeah, and Vince McMahon hired security and sent round-the-clock protection for Sergeant Slaughter. But anyway, Rick Rude. Listen, back then it was. If you look in the late '80s, early '90s.
The only heel champion was Savage.
Yeah. Nobody got over because as long as Hogan was there, nobody was going to get that top spot. That was Hogan's spot. Mr. Perfect, Ricky Steamboat. The list goes on and on and on.
Steamboat should have never been champion.
I don't know. I don't know. Listen, we're gonna go.
Performer of that era.
Okay.
I really do. But he was never going to be over enough to be champion.
Yeah,
and
but
he was never going to cut the promos at a champion. Good.
Right, and then plus he got into a squabble with Vince McMahon today. Anyway, all right. So listen, that's gonna wrap it up. Maybe we could make a series out of this and reboot all the topics. James, how are you legal to drink?
No. I'm not. I'm going into my junior year of high school.
Oh my God, I feel like a grandfather.
Fuck, now I feel old. I'm gonna be 30 in 3 years.
You don't need to sign we don't need your parents' signature to release this, do we?
No.
Pretty soon, Jameis is gonna need our AARP cards, Frank.
Oh man,
I do a lot of. I'm cool with the stuff I do.
Yeah, I don't care if she's cool. I don't know if it's we didn't do anything. We're talking about.
We're not that wild on this show.
No, yeah, this is a pretty much PG show episode parody. All right, so let's wrap it up because we don't want to make a novel of this. Thank you, James. We'll see you soon, James.
Thanks, Frank.
Yes, we'll see you. And thank you, viewers. If anybody ever watches this, I hope we could do this again. Goodbye.